You think you can't choose because you have too many options. But the truth is, you can't choose because something inside you believes the wrong choice could cost your survival. That hesitation you call overthinking, that endless comparing, that strange paralysis when everything seems possible. It's not confusion. It's fear dressed up as logic. Have you noticed how choosing a restaurant can feel strangely exhausting? How replying to a simple message can take hours? How deciding your career path feels less like a decision and more like a life or death gamble? Wait, why does your nervous system treat everyday choices like stepping onto a battlefield? Because somewhere deep in your unconscious, choices become dangerous. You think you're just being careful. But the truth is, your brain is scanning for threats that don't even exist anymore. And the longer you delay, the safer it feels. Until delay becomes your identity. Until possibility becomes pressure. Until freedom becomes suffocation. In the next 20 minutes, I will take you from the hidden survival mechanism buried in your nervous system to the shadow side of human nature. We'll explore what secretly craves certainty, finally offering a psychological ritual that allows you to reclaim the ability to choose, without feeling like your life is collapsing. Because what you're about to discover is unsettling. Your indecision isn't the problem. It's the solution your psyche created to protect you from something far more terrifying. Imagine a hidden camera quietly recording your day. Morning, you open your laptop. 20 tabs bloom across the screen like anxious thoughts. Trying to outrun silence, you read reviews. Watch comparison videos. Scroll Reddit threads. Which software should you use? Which skill should you learn? Which path gives the highest probability of success? 2 hours pass. You still haven't started. Strangely, researching feels productive. But beginning feels irreversible. Why? Because starting means closing other doors. And closing doors feels dangerous. Now another scene. Late at night. You replay a conversation you haven't even had yet. Should you apply for that job? Move to another city? End that relationship? You simulate 10 possible futures. In one, you regret everything. In another, you disappoint your parents. In another, you fail publicly. Your heart beats faster, as if humiliation were a physical predator approaching your body, so you postpone. Not forever, just until you feel more certain. But certainty never arrives, because uncertainty is not the real problem. Hidden beneath all this mental activity, there's a fatal logical error. You believe the wrong choice will destroy your life, so your mind tries to find the perfect choice. But perfection is psychologically indistinguishable from safety, and safety has quietly become your highest value. What if the reason you can't decide is because your nervous system is trying to guarantee survival? In a world where survival is no longer the main threat. Stay with me, because once you see the mechanism, you can never unsee it. In psychology, there's a concept called intolerance of uncertainty. But that phrase sounds harmless, academic, almost boring. In reality, it describes a nervous system that interprets ambiguity as danger. Your brain evolved in an environment where uncertainty often meant death. A rustling bush could be wind, or a predator. Indecision in that world was fatal, so your brain learned a brutal rule. Better safe than sorry. Better frozen than exposed. Better stuck than wrong. Fast forward thousands of years. Now the predator isn't a tiger. It's choosing the wrong career path. Posting something embarrassing online. Being judged. Being average. Being invisible. The consequences are emotional, not physical. But your nervous system doesn't fully understand the difference. It reacts as if reputation equals survival. And strangely, in tribal environments, it once did. Rejection from the tribe meant isolation. Isolation meant vulnerability. Vulnerability meant death. So your brain built a system that tries to avoid irreversible mistakes. But here's the twist. Modern life presents you with endless choices. Endless choices create endless possible mistakes. And endless possible mistakes create chronic anxiety. So the psyche invents a clever defense mechanism. Delay. If you never fully choose, you never fully fail. If you never fully commit, your identity remains protected. You exist in a psychological waiting room, safe, but suspended. Have you noticed how imagining the perfect option feels comforting, but committing to a real option feels disappointing? That's because imagination contains no risk. Reality always removes possibilities. Every choice kills infinite alternative versions of your life. And something inside you is mourning those invisible futures. Wait, if you think that's unsettling enough, this next realization might disturb you even more. Your indecision might not just be fear of making the wrong choice. It might be fear of discovering who you actually are. Because once you choose, your identity becomes visible. And visibility invites judgment, not just from others, from yourself. Carl Jung believed that beneath our conscious personality lives something he called the shadow. The parts of ourselves we refuse to see. The parts that contradict the image we want to maintain. Indecision often protects this image, because choosing forces confrontation. Friedrich Nietzsche once observed that humans often prefer the comfort of familiar suffering over the anxiety of unknown freedom. Think about that. Familiar suffering feels predictable. Predictability feels safe. Safety feels like control. So the psyche clings to hesitation, not because it is weak, but because it fears exposure. Gabor Mate often describes how our coping mechanisms are not signs of dysfunction, but evidence of adaptation. Your indecision once served a purpose. Perhaps you were rewarded for being careful. Perhaps mistakes were punished harshly. Perhaps approval was conditional. So your nervous system learned a silent rule. Only act when success is guaranteed. But success is never guaranteed, so action becomes rare. Notice the hidden arrogance inside perfectionism. It quietly assumes that making the wrong choice would be unbearable. But unbearable to whom? To your ego. To the identity that wants to appear intelligent, capable, special. Sometimes indecision is not fear of failure. It is fear of ordinariness. Because choosing means discovering your limits. Choosing reveals what you are and what you are not. And the shadow hates limitation. It wants infinite potential. Infinite potential feels powerful, but infinite potential is also empty. Because potential without action is only imagination wearing a mask of greatness. Have you noticed how imagining success feels almost as satisfying as achieving it? Your brain releases dopamine simply from possibility. Possibility becomes addictive. Why risk losing the fantasy by testing reality? Why collapse the wave of infinite identities into one imperfect life? Perhaps indecision is not hesitation. Perhaps it is grief. Grief for the versions of yourself that will never exist. Grief for the fantasy of unlimited potential. Grief for the illusion that life could be perfect. If only you chose correctly. But what if the real terror is simpler? What if you are afraid that no choice will finally prove you are enough? I know what you want right now. You want me to say, just trust yourself. Just take action. Just stop overthinking. You already know that advice, and it has never worked. Because advice tries to correct behavior, but your psyche is protecting something. So instead, we observe. Here's the first micro-experiment. The reversible choice ritual. Choose something small today. Something slightly uncomfortable but not catastrophic. Pick a restaurant without reading reviews. Choose a movie without checking ratings. Send a message without rewriting it 10 times. Then observe the anxiety that arises. Don't fight it. Don't justify it. Just notice how your body reacts. As if something important is at stake, your heart might beat faster. Your mind might whisper, what if this is wrong? What if there was something better? Good. That reaction is the unconscious revealing itself. You are witnessing survival anxiety. In a situation where survival is not actually threatened. Now the second experiment. The identity collapse note. Write down one decision you have been postponing. Then complete this sentence. If I choose wrong, it would mean that I am underscore. Be honest. You might write, not talented enough, not special enough, not intelligent enough, not destined for anything meaningful. Notice how the fear is rarely about the decision itself. It is about identity. Your mind is trying to avoid information that contradicts the story you want to believe about yourself. Stay with that discomfort, because that discomfort is truth emergent from illusion. You might feel resistance right now, a quiet urge to close this video, to postpone self-confrontation. Just like you postpone decisions, wait, observe that impulse too. Because awareness dissolves unconscious patterns, not instantly, but gradually. Each small decision becomes exposure therapy for uncertainty. Each imperfect choice becomes proof that your identity is flexible. And strangely, freedom does not come from finding the perfect choice. Freedom comes from discovering that imperfect choices do not destroy you. Fyodor Dostoevsky once suggested that humans are not destroyed by suffering, but by suffering without meaning. Indecision creates a subtle form of suffering, a quiet erosion of vitality, a slow leaking of time. But beneath this struggle, there is something deeply human, the desire for your life to matter, the fear that existence might be random, the hope that the right choice might justify your presence in this universe. But meaning does not emerge from perfect decisions. Meaning emerges from participation, from engaging with uncertainty, rather than avoiding it. Existence has never offered guarantees, only invitations. Perhaps the real tragedy is not choosing wrong. Perhaps the real tragedy is refusing to choose at all. Because life is not something you observe from a safe distance. Life is something that reshapes you through interaction. Every choice, even the flawed ones, carve your identity. Every mistake reveals new territory of the self. Every uncertain step expands your tolerance for being human. You are not supposed to feel completely certain. You are supposed to feel alive. Alive means vulnerable. Alive means unfinished. Alive means capable of surprise. The anxiety you feel before choosing is the cost of consciousness. And consciousness is the privilege of being human. So now I leave you with a question. If no choice could guarantee your worth, what would you finally allow yourself to choose? And more importantly, what part of you is still waiting for permission to exist imperfectly? Somewhere in your life right now, there is a small decision quietly waiting, not demanding perfection, only participation. Perhaps your awakening moment will not feel dramatic. Perhaps it will feel subtle. A quiet shift from hesitation to movement. When that moment comes, you will realize something unexpected. The choice was never the prison. The illusion of irreversible failure was. Tell me in the comments, when was the last time fear disguised itself as logic in your life? Because sometimes the most dangerous illusion is believing you must be certain before you are allowed to live.